Tony, some Tony time. The man in the Mino. How are you this morning, Tony? How are you?
Bon dia, Carlito. Hello, everyone.
What's new? What's new?
What's
Come
new?
on.
Nothing's new. Just
New York, New Jersey.
não há nada de novo. Só no continente. Só no continente.
Very good. Very good.
Novidades é no continente, Carlito.
It's lovely to see you. You don't have your Algarve backdrop this morning, my friend. What's going on?
Oh, I didn't know I'd had. I've been meaning to find one to put here in the Nino, and anyway,
No worries.
I'm going rough. I'm going all rough, all naked.
You are au naturel, and that's
all
how we
natural.
roll. That is how we roll up in the north, isn't it? Authentic, vulnerable, lots of nature up there. So not a great deal to report by the sound of it. Although, however, on the other side of things, in the greater real estate market, the government's shaking things up a bit with their proposals. We haven't talked to you about that yet. What's your view on this new malarkey coming from the government about how they're going to make housing a bit easier for Portuguese people?
They're not.
Okay, should we move on?
They're not. It's simple. I mean, a lot of ink's still going to be written. You have a lot of, you got to remember something. The government here is, until any law is passed, it has to go through the Assembly of the Republic, Assembleia.
Yeah.
Okay, and the President of the Republic has to sign that law. Remember that. So there's no matter what politician, it has to get approved. And as of the weekend, even our President of the Republic, which he's a law professor, okay, and he's very big on the Constitution. And he himself said that some of the propositions that they've made are unconstitutional. Yes, it is. So you'll see some changes that'll be happening, but you got to remember something. When people bought property here a few years ago, using, for example, the Golden Visa, with the intention having the AL license, okay, and they were allowed to buy property under those premises from the government. It was allowed. Now it's not. That's a big legal. Some lawsuits were already filed against the government, and they lost the government. So it's a big, things. It's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect. Especially, we have a problem here, and I think everybody wants to pass the buck. Nobody wants to assume the blame, but the blame is very simple: lack of housing. Okay, and it's supply and demand. That's real estate. Prices go up. Why do prices go up? There's a lot of people that want to move to Portugal. I mean, I've been saying it for more than 20 years, that Portugal will become the 51st state of the United States. Call it the mix of the Florida and California. It's a lot of Americans, a lot of Colombians, a lot of Brazilians, a lot of South Africans, a lot of Turks. A lot of people want to move here. Quality of life, cost of living. And so there's not enough homes for everybody. And rents. Okay, and why is it that we have a problem here that even builders, they don't build to rent? Why? It doesn't make sense, because of the laws that they are. Nobody buys anything or builds like you have in many other countries where the builders, they buy properties or they build to rent. It doesn't happen here. Rents here are very difficult. The prices have gone up extremely in the last couple of years. They will continue in the next 8 to 10 years until we resolve the issue of people having homes for everybody. The prices are not going to go away. The issues are not going to go away. I say, you know what? But where is in the world? Where in the world is it unaffordable to live? Where is it? Tell me. If there's an extremely affordable place, maybe you have to move to Kathmandu. I don't even know. You know what I mean? How expensive real estate is there. But I will tell you that in comparison to the rest of the world, it's still affordable living here. And that's why people keep coming, and they will keep coming. And that's a beautiful thing. I love it. So it'll be great times for real estate. It's all about supply and demand, and that's going to dictate the price. It's very simple. When you have a lot of politicians making a lot of noise, but a lot of ink still going to have to written up in the newspapers, Carlito, because it's not going to be going away. A problem that has been a problem even more than 20 years ago. It was already a problem. So they kind of put Band-Aids on it. It was never resolved. And until it resolves to the core issue, and you know what the core issue is? Is that it's the low of wages. People can't afford homes here. That's the key issue. That's the underlying, when the wages are in comparison to what people can afford, then you're going to have some changes. Right now, in terms of inflation, in terms of home values, what they've gone up, the salaries have not gone up in line with those raises, right? So there's a problem, and that's always been the problem here for Portugal is the low wages. You could see that anywhere, and anybody will tell you. Anybody in real estate that knows real estate will tell you the same thing. That is the issue here. Supply and demand, low wages. People can't afford homes. Can the foreigners afford homes? Yes, but they're not the problem. The foreigners are not the problem. That's you have a lot of issues sometimes because well, they don't want them to buy in Lisbon or Porto, because of the golden visa. Golden visa represented about less than 2% of what actually in real estate values, Carl. I don't know if anybody has an idea. That's nothing. That's like a drop in the ocean. And only 6% of foreigners, 6% bought properties last year. So 94% of were Portuguese buyers. So it's not a big, foreigners are not yet, but they will be more. Those numbers will be more, but for now. And so that's an issue the government has to realize. And, until it passes to the president of the republic, where it signs into a law, everything else is just talk. It's talk. A lot of ink, a lot of, what that does for me, Carlito, is it scares away investors, foreign investors.
This is the problem. This is the problem, isn't it?
The problem for me.
Yeah. And that's what we want to put right in some small way if we can, because people's confidence has been a little bit knocked. It's causing people to think twice. And I love your analysis. I will clip it from the show and publish it separately, if I may, because I think it's an excellent analysis. A lot of these proposals are being spoken about as though they've already passed. And as you say, the ink hasn't been written, let alone dried yet. There's a whole process. And it's some political game playing. Now, one thing that stood out from what you were saying there, and broadly, I'm in agreement with you with what you say. That I think your analysis is excellent. But this thing about what would really change the game here is putting people's wages up for the Portuguese, right? The government aren't going to be behind that. They'll talk about it, won't they? But I suppose if the government employs so many people, they're not going to be putting wages up, are they?
The government employs so many people. The government has so many empty homes. Did you know that? They're the owners.
Well, they want to pass. Yes.
They want to pass a law that anybody that has a vacant home, the government will be allowed. Well, then I guess the government will be having a lot of homes for sale, or not for sale, for rent. That's for sure. So the government is the biggest real estate holder, probably, of vacant homes. Homes. Okay.
Yes.
And so.
What they could do, I suppose, they could raise more money by fining themselves for not renting those homes out, couldn't they?
Listen, Carlito, I love Portugal. Portugal is for me is the Alice of Wonderland. I feel like Alice. I'm in Wonderland. I mean, anybody that doesn't like Portugal, get the hell out. It's not for you. Serious. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Portugal is the best country to live, the quality of life, cost of living, everything. But it's not for everybody, and you're not going to change it. Remember, we talked about this. You're not going to change Portugal, but Portugal may change you.
Yes.
We have issues here, social issues. We have lots of other issues. What country doesn't? What place in the world doesn't? We have our own. We're dealing with them, but except that it's been things that for more than 20 years have been passed under the rug. And it's about time that it's being faced. And that's what we're trying to do, I guess, as a nation, just get up from that, because everything else is in the right direction. And that's why people are moving here and attracting. So you don't want to ruin that. Okay. You don't want to ruin that. You don't want to go back to 2012. I'm not sure if you were here, but, government was bankrupt, didn't have money to pay. What happens if they didn't have money to pay the government people that working for the government? Where are they going to be working? Or the doctors or the teachers or this or that. And so, the government created these tools for people to come and invest, live here. Even, some say that, the foreigners have a tax break of 10 years. That's not true. Portuguese people do too. If they live outside of Portugal more than 5 years, they can come back to Portugal and be in the same circumstance of not paying tax for 10 years. Not too many people know about this, but Portuguese people have the same rights as any foreigner. Foreigners here are invited because you know what? They help spend on the economy, everything that goes around. And I welcome them. I love foreigners. I'm a foreigner myself. And if you're unhappy, if you're Portuguese, you're unhappy, or anybody listening, get out. We don't need you. Get out. It's as simple as that. And and that's what it is. And people gotta learn that, there's you got to find your place. You got to call home. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for me. It's perfect for many people. Don't come try to change our political system or our radicals. You can have your opinions and etc. And the only way you could change it is when you vote. If you don't vote, And if you're not a permanent resident here, and you are a permanent resident, you're voting, then shame on you. You have one, when you can make your choices when you vote. And that's when the only thing is that everything else is perfect, and you deal with it, because it's not perfect anywhere, Carl. It really isn't. And that's what I love about Portugal, is because you have these challenges, and like any other growing democracy, we've been a democracy since 75, right? So it's still a young democracy, learning from the mistakes, corruption, learning from corruption.
Yeah.
And so
Well, you're right. I mean, it's a society, and no society is without its challenges. Lots of excellent comments coming in. On that matter, of course, is the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution next year. So how do you feel about that, and what would you like to see? And I will be asking this question of more people. What I'm trying to do is get together. You'd be great on this panel if you've got time to do it. But I want to, you talked about, foreigners, you love foreigners coming to Portugal. Turns out, did you just see what I saw? John H is already limbering up behind the scenes. He's got a backdrop of, go back where you were, John, because we can see you walking across the bridge on the green screen. Look, he's going across the green. That's superb. Wow. It's a movie, like a superhero movie. The Hulk is present in Pontelima. So, thank you, John. We'll see you at 9:30. That was brilliant. It caught my eye there. Yeah, foreigners coming to Portugal. 1 in 10 people, close on 1 in 10 is a foreigner. And then we have this incredible opportunity here, don't we? I mean, that is how it is now, that there almost 1 in 10 people have come from somewhere else. It's a very rich, diverse immigrant population. And that, on the one hand, that can cause understandable concern for Portuguese people. And what I would hope is that would be seen as an asset, that what people are bringing with them, they're not least their wealth and their contribution to the country, but ideas, and getting behind these wonderful things that we love about Portugal, celebrating those together. And what an incredible formula that could be for the continued success of Portugal for the next 50 years, beyond the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution. How would you see Portugal in 2074? And maybe you will be on this expat thought leader panel of ours discussing that question. But what's your personal view this morning on that, Tony?
I think there's going to be another revolution here in Portugal. That's my opinion.
Do? Seriously?
Yeah, seriously, because it has to do a revolution when you revolutionize, not maybe guns or anything, but you have to change the political system here, the way it's done things. You have countries outside of that are examples, like in the Nordic countries. How many politicians do they have? What they get paid? It's none of them want it. You know what I mean? They don't even get paid a lot. Here, they have a lot of rewards for being a politician, and there's a lot of Tichinhos, you know what I mean? Like, the little cousin, or they're put in this place and this place. Look at the stuff that's going on with TAP. You know what I mean? Like an airline that's costing the taxpayer billions of euros, billions. Okay, bailouts of banks, billions to the taxpayer. All that money, if it wasn't used for those things, we would be in a much better place. So there has to be revolutionized the way the banking system here, the political system here, and that's will be the new revolution in Portugal. That's just my opinion, because things have got to change. Like at the time they had to change, and they did it peacefully. We're going to do it peacefully. Portugal is a peaceful country. We're not going to see us in wars or guns or rolling down and killing the prime minister or executing the king. That was centuries ago.
That's the old days. We're beyond that now, aren't we? Hopefully.
Yeah, we are, and but people are resilient. The Portuguese people, that's what it is. They're resilient, but they're resilient up to a certain point, you know. But at the same time, when people's attitudes and mentalities, and this is a thing. I mean, when you talk about immigration, I think immigration is great. You know why? Because the immigrants that are coming in are doing the jobs that the Portuguese people don't want to do. They don't want to work in hotels. They don't want to work in factories. Portugal has, over the last 20 years, and this is a society in general, we've created a society that people are working. Everybody's a social influence. Everybody, you know what I mean? Like nobody wants to get the job done. Everybody wants to be a star on internet or something. And I think what happens is you need the people that are going to do manual labor, work at the hotels. We need, how many times you go into a restaurant or hotel and their lack of staff, right? So you see somebody working from Brazil or from the Ukraine or from Bangladesh or from India, etc. You don't see Portuguese people working. That's what's happening.
Yes, it
Because
is.
Portugal raised in the last 2 decades here a bunch of doctors and engineers, and okay, schooling is great, but not now. People, the government is saying, you know what, they give too much. The socialism has to change a little bit. You can't give everybody everything. People have to go work for. That's the way I see it. And so there's got to be a little bit of changes in that, and it will, because you know what.
They do, Tony, don't they? I mean, you like, it's a great example you give there. Actually, one of my early recollections was being in a family restaurant in Nazaré, and we were talking to the young lady serving us, and it turns out she's the daughter. The three grandma's cooking, the parents own and run the restaurant, and the daughter's working in there, but only for a little while because she's a law student, being well educated in the way that people want in this country. But what does she do when she becomes trained as a legal graduate? She leaves the country, and there's a problem with that, isn't there? There's a problem with that. That it's great to train people and educate people, but if they leave because there's no opportunity for them in their own country, that's a little bit of a shot in the foot, isn't it?
Yeah, do like Cuba. They don't let the doctors or lawyers or engineers leave. You have to stay there. They give you the free education. You have to live there all your life. you know, I'm not saying become a Cuba. You know what I mean? But there's got to be. It's free, right?
Yeah.
Education is free. Maybe they should have to spend the first 5 years here. I don't know. After they graduate, they should not be recruited. The best doctors, nurses, lawyers, everything. They're recruited right at a university level. No, maybe they should spend time here 2 years to give back to somebody else what they've learned, you know what I mean, before they can go on. Then they can go on, because free education it does have a price, and it should be that, like we're educating them, but then they're going to be leaving. We're educating the best financial advisors. We have some great schools. Did you know this? And that's why they get recruited the best. But we have to get out from the stigma that immigration is bad. I love immigration because, I mean, even myself, when I immigrated to the United States, we were immigrants, and like many other people, many Americans are leaving there now. But you know how many people are going to be wanting to go to the United States? The ones that want to leave. The United States doesn't need you anyway. It didn't need me. I'm happy here. You know what I mean? And so the people that want to go there, they're going to want to contribute their immigration. That's how it is. Look at the UK. Like you have how many foreigners there, that move there as well, right, Carlito? And that's what it is. It's because they're going to be doing things that nobody else wants to do. No doctors or engineers. They're not going to, you're going to go to a Starbucks cup of coffee. One day it'll be surprised. Hey, I have a doctor or a lawyer that's serving me a Starbucks coffee, when they're able to get paid X amount of money. And that's the truth, and I think that's the revolution that I feel that what's needed here in Portugal is just that people to get over the bureaucracy level, the political structure, that it's just too many politicians. There's too many chiefs, not enough Indians, right? That's an expression.
Often the way in management, isn't it, and public institutions? Yes, because I guess they promote and give themselves pay rises. The middle managers.
Running a government is just like running a business. You have to run it. Okay, you have to have loss. You have losses, and if you're running a company and you have losses, you're fired. Okay, you don't have a chance to go back on votes. You're fired, right? And so it's about losses and gains, and you got to look at it. And they're rewarded, for the gains that they have. Here, even if a company like TAP has losses, the CEOs and everybody, they're rewarded. How does that work? I mean, I don't understand. And so now it's going. I mean, these are things that like we're sick. I am tired of. Everybody's tired, and that's the truth, Carly. And those are the changes that need to get done in real deep into raising the wages for everybody, the salaries, to make it competable, so you can compete with other European nations, right? So then that way. Yeah, and get people that are getting that social paycheck that they're sitting on their ass, on their on their sofa. I'm not sure if I can say ASS, but
too late. You did it.
Okay, but they're sitting on the couch and they're not really doing anything or helping promoting the well-being of society. They're not contributing. They're not paying taxes. They're and they're receiving a paycheck. Get them out to work to clean the mountains or the streets or something. I don't even know.
Get them to clean the mountains. Okay, so
we didn't have years ago when before and this is stories. I mean, anybody. I mean, I this is not from my time. I wasn't even born at that time. But in times before, what we had the 75th of April, people were happy in the sense where many things this didn't happen. And even Salazar said himself, this will become a country. He died poor. He didn't, believe it or not, like all the politicians. And I think, man, how did you get to accumulate X amount of wealth over a period of time? I haven't done it, and I work my butt off every single day. And I work my butt off every single day, and I have for since I was 14 years old, and I have not accumulated millions and millions in offshore accounts. How do they do it? How do they live what they do? So maybe I'm in the wrong business. We are in the wrong business. I got to get in there.
Now you mention it. Now I feel a bit naughty talking about revolution, but I think the kind you're speaking of is that it's absolutely spot on. What a brilliant premise this morning, and what fantastic ideas you're bringing to us this morning. Do let us know what you think in the chat, folks. About it's a full-on Tony time this morning with Antonio Barbosa and Infinite Solutions. Yes, on the matter of golden visas, if anybody does still want to get in there before the door shuts, if it shuts, Tony's your man to speak to. Tony and I know a fantastic colleague by the name of Michael Maxwell, right? He's a great guy. If anyone wants to skinch in just in that last part of the golden days of the golden visa, get in touch with Antonio and have a chat with Michael, because he's one of the best in the business. There are a lot of great people doing that scheme, and a lot of interesting ways of going about it. I do really like the way Michael goes about it. So if you're in, do you want to add anything to that, Antonio, about Michael and his how he goes about the golden visa?
Well, he's like myself. He's a lover of Portugal as well. Okay, so and he knows that the company. Well, and I feel the company he works behind and the board of directors. It's all about the people behind the structure of any company, right? That does this.
Yes.
And their philosophy. And when they're involved with some of the best, the elite builders. Okay, when they cherry pick properties into their property funds, Carl, there's some builders, some phenomenal buildings and properties that they cherry pick from, and that's what you want, because then that's what's going to grow the portfolios. And they have it spot on, and that's it. For me, it took me a while to get trust for someone like them, and that's what it's about. And some changes will be done, but even if it's not golden visa, you could still invest in the real estate property market, in the prime real estate market, like per se. If you don't want to own outright a building of €1 million, an apartment of €1 million, own a fraction of it that you're going to have returns, because it's going to be rented out. Okay, guaranteed. It's going to get sold. So after the fund is fully mature, you're going to be able to get your investment not only on a yearly payment, but also a lump sum payout. So and there's a minimum investment of €550,000. 500,000 is for the golden visa, okay? But you don't have, anybody can invest any amount, minimum €50,000. It's just like investing in a piece of land and buying it and holding it there. That's the same way, and you're investing in the prime real estate, cherry pick properties that are cherry picked, and so they know what they're doing, and the whole corporate structure, the board. I know them, and some of the builders, even the Moreno with Stone Capital and other builders that are phenomenal. It's you have to see that behind what properties are in the portfolio and the buildings, and that's what the key is.
Tony, please put your details in the private chat so that I can put them on the screen so that people can get in touch with you, or extend your name badge on the screen to include that detail. John will be joining us in about 5 minutes. Let's say a few more hellos and see the responses to Tony's on fire this morning with his ideas for the next Portuguese revolution. Hope you feel better soon, Nubianette. You're here this morning. Pete sending you love. Sinus issues are truly horrid. Vicks and loads of eucalyptus are great. Yes, a good reason to come to Portugal. Isopropyl rubbing alcohol is isopropyl alcohol. I'm learning about rubbing alcohol. We prefer to drink it, don't we, Tony, than rub it, I think, but that's not a bad second best. Antonio F is here. Bon dia todos. Thank you for being here. And, oh, yeah, there you go. There's Tony's details. They're very straightforward. I'm putting those into the chat now. Antonio10k.com. Excellent stuff. That's into the chat if you want to get in touch with Antonio or Michael about the golden visa there. Fabulous. Thank you very much for your lovely comments that are coming in and continue to come in, and weather reports I'm seeing here. Does anyone know about the Harry Potter bookshop? That's the Lello Libreria Lello, isn't it? I think in Porto. Has anyone got a picture of that they want to send, and we can stick that on the screen? Never been there, says Antonio F, but it looks beautiful in pictures. You pay €5 to enter, but you can use it to buy something there. That's a good idea, isn't it? You can claim it back on a book purchase. Libreria Lello is that place. Wow. Okay, so T-Duck, this is where you can find out mysteries that have been around since your childhood. I'm pretty sure that was Spike Milligan who came up with the Peas and Honey poem. And we were talking about Norman Vincent Peale. Power of Positive Thinking was an early book on my path. Tell us more. Anyone who's got one of those monumental, seminal books in their personal development, pop those into the chat as well. They may be useful to other people as well. I'm a pretty good sleeper now, but I'm a little sick, so I woke up. I won't go to work, so I have nothing to worry about. Well, have a nice day off. Thailand, responding to what you were saying earlier on about places being expensive and inexpensive. Thailand is very inexpensive, of course. All of this is relative to what you have. Absolutely. Joel Denort, I'm from the US, but please don't come here with old baggage. Start fresh, start new, be your best self. Yay! Very good. It's not where you live. And this is a paraphrase of the earlier comment, I think, wasn't it? From Dale Carnegie. It's not where you live, it's how you live. And who else is there that's with you that matters. Thank you very much for that. Simon's in as well. Bon dia todos. No place is the best for everybody. Again, resonating with what you were saying there, Tony. The question is this the best place for me? We have a vacant home tax in Vancouver. Got a bill for this house. If vacant, pay $8,000. Yikes. And report before due date showing it is not currently vacant. That's one way of doing it in Portugal, isn't it? Is to tax empty houses, perhaps. It's not paying taxes. This is the NHR, the tax break that you were referring to. It's a reduction of taxes on certain types of income. That's good clarification. Olá, Antonio from Simon. Uma manhã fina e fresca para você. My first visit was in 2012. And remember, the lawns in the suburbs were overgrown, was still amazing, but I'm amazed how much had changed by the time I visited again in 2019. Imperfection is beautiful. Would you agree with that, Tony? Imperfection is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
I'm imperfect, but I'm perfect.
I can't believe that. Perfectly imperfect. Antonio Barbosa with us this morning.
Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree.
Short visit to the show today from Matty. Got to go. Have fun and keep healthy. Thank you, Matty. In my opinion, my humble opinion, Portugal is head and shoulders above other European countries in terms of cost of living, lifestyle, culture, and overall welcome. However, the Portuguese government is missing a trick due to the impenetrable bureaucracy. No one likes impenetrable first thing in the morning. And despite the relatively low cost of the D7 visa, the immense overhead of paperwork and protocol. Would you agree, Tony?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Not paying tax.
Spot on.
Thank you. Even with the NHR, you still pay tax, but the tax is max 20% on your income, and other taxes are unchanged. Thank you. Smash that like button. And it appears to me that as a holiday destination or as a new home, Portugal is unrivaled. The problem is the bit in between. Interesting. Thank you for that. Portugal could absolutely clean up in the retirement sweepstakes if only the procedure for immigration was more straightforward. Not cheaper, not easier, just more predictable. Wise words, right? The experiences Luisa and Veronica have had with importing vehicles and switching licenses are enough to put many people off. Oh, yes. Don't import vehicles unless you're really sentimentally attached. Veritable rabbit hole of tangled and poorly explained paperwork. Excellent analysis. Where else can you get this level of information? Certainly not in the news. Yes, that's to you, Tony. Set the bar, adhere to it consistently across the board, spread the word, and wait for the silver dollars to roll in. I often think of becoming a barista in Porto, learning the language and meeting new people every day. Don't want to have a glamorous career, but promote the country and immerse myself in the culture. There you go. I'd love for Portugal to emulate the competent government public service mentality of Norway. Would that be the right hybrid? Would you agree, Tony?
Without a doubt. That's why I said Scandinavian countries, Norway, Denmark, they have this philosophy of politicians that they very little. And they get paid very little, but what they do, it's a job. They go to work, there's no, and so definitely it would be, they need to go there for 6 months or a year and do a internship to learn how it's done.
Well, there you go. I would love to. And if we give them Norwegian food and a all expenses paid holiday in Norway, politicians would like that sort of thing, wouldn't they? I think I would love. I'd love to see the actual statistics of Portuguese people not working by choice, sitting on their couches and living off the government larder. It's a divisive argument.
Look on the there's a nobody even cares about this. Everybody likes to talk. You want statistics? Look at INE.pt. Did you know that? It's the Institute of National Statistics. INE.pt. You want to know about statistics about years ago, about the rents, about this, about that, unemployment. INE.pt.
But nobody's going to say, I love sitting on my sofa, are they, in a survey? I don't think. I get your point, James, and I get Tony's as well. And I do. It's not the first person I've heard saying that. Portuguese people have asked when you talk to the taxi drivers and the barbers and so on. These are the sort of sentiments you hear that are complete shock to me in my early time here. So we've got a name for this revolution. We're moving on from the carnation revolution into the competency revolution. It's not very. I think it sums up what we want, but it's not very sexy. I think we can maybe improve a little bit on that. But that's a great start there, John, and you can talk about that when you join us in just a moment. There's Antonio's details if you want to get in touch. Tony, do stay. I mean, I know you've got things to do, but it would be lovely to have a little bit of a crossover with our pal from Pont Lima and you, the man in the Minho. Let's have some Spike Milligan quotations. Money can't buy you happiness, but it does bring you a more pleasant form of misery. Yes, well said. I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Also, Spike Milligan. And the citizens' connection with the land provide power and self-determination. Well, there's another part of what could happen. We've got all that interior, so much kerfuffle and noise about the Marginal, the Silver Coast, the Algarve, Porto and Lisbon. What about all that other land, the powerhouse, the true powerhouse of Portugal, right? Where people could be encouraged to work in a way that they want to, creating food, growing food, living out in the countryside, enjoying a fantastic life. That's been part of the problems of our modern economy, have made that quite impossible for people. So that could be another area that the revolution of competency could look at. What do you think about that, Tony? It's a shame, isn't it, that central Portugal has been, socially desertified.
I keep saying in many posts, Mr. Prime Minister, you need to get out of Lisbon and politicians and come visit Viseu or Guarda, Paris de Coura and the Minho, Ponte de Lima and interiors. There's so many interior villages that there's a lot to do. They're uninhabited. People go to the bigger cities, but there's a lot of quality of life. And that's where I think the focus should be. Lisbon and Porto has done its work over the last few years, and even the coastal areas, but that's never going to go away because that's where people are buying. I mean, so that's where but if you go interior wise, you're going to see some beautiful quality properties to buy at an affordable price, and the quality of life that goes with it. Carl, I mean, even from the Silver Coast, if you go, to Constanza, even interior wise, and they're beautiful little villages, right? And all along in those settings, and but definitely the interior part of Portugal. There's so much room for everybody. I don't know, like everybody's sometimes worried about, we don't want other people coming in. You know what? There's plenty of room for everybody. We're a small but big country. There's so much room, so much territory to cover that it's enough to have everybody to come in. And, and I think for the next 20, 30 years, it'll be my pleasure to welcome you here.
Yes, nicely done. The fork and spade revolution. We're liking that. And João de Norte says, and let's bring him on to talk about this himself. Morning, John. We've got a man in the Minho, and now we've got a pal in Ponte.
Yeah.
I think you've enjoyed this morning so far, John, but you don't want Portugal to become the 51st state. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's have a look at that T-shirt. Can you show us that again, please? What do you call a person who is happy on Mondays? Retired. Yeah, all right. Very good. Oh, hold on a minute. I took you off the screen with that comment rather than bringing you back to size there. And thank you for walking across that fabulous bridge this morning. That was hilarious earlier on. Not the 51st state then, John. You don't like that idea? Oh, he's going across the bridge.
No, it's not.
Look at that. You're getting your feet wet, John. He's down there with the Roman centurions, isn't he? Right, the bridge there. Amazing.
I have to work on that.
So not the 51st state. You have a different way of putting it.
Oh, heavens no. Please no.
Why not? Why is that?
America has enough problems than to bring them here.
Okay, you're right. But yeah, maybe we shouldn't get too deeply into that. But a right to reply, Antonio. I don't think you mean the 51st state of American problems, right? You just mean a
No,
lot of
I
Americans
think
loving
everybody. I think everybody understands that. I think it's a cross between what it actually is a problem in the U.S., in Florida and California in the U.S., where the 51st state has to do with Florida is predominantly a retirement area or retirement state, and lower just the sun, the quality of life, and that's where most people, when they get to retirement, they move there. Well, you know what, Portugal can offer that to the retirees at a much lower cost, and that's what I mean by that. No, the problem, we have our own problems, but you're not going to change them, so don't bring them here. That's for sure. We have our own.
Excellent. Well, that was quickly sorted out.
I did put a however on there. Yeah.
There it is. What's this then, John?
Well, if we had the competence of a Scandinavian governance with the beautiful, wonderful culture and climate of Portugal, that might be too much of a good thing.
Serious immigration problem. However here, Norway taxes are 40, 50 to 45%. They are in Portugal, aren't they? Once you add it all up, I think Portuguese taxes are as high as Norway. Norway just asked for it in a clearer way, right?
Yeah, the taxes here aren't that much different than they are in Norway. If you make over 75,000 euros here in Portugal, I think your tax rate is 46%.
Yeah. So it just needs to be used better. I think we can all agree on some better systems and some the transparency. What's that? And John, you were calling it the revolution. Am I right in thinking your translation was the revolution of competency? Is that right?
Revolución de competencia.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from red flowers and into some ways of working that are a little bit more efficient.
Just have a bunch of people walking around in good suits and cravats and ties and nice skirts and pants and whatever looks smart.
Yeah. Okay, very good. That's the beginning. It's a uniform to go with this revolution then, by the sound of it. Very good. Another Spike Milligan quote before we move away from those. It was a perfect marriage. She didn't want to and he couldn't. What a genius Spike Milligan was. Suze is off. Sleep well, Suze. Thank you for being us in the time that you were here. I think we should have another look at your house, John, because I know that Antonio likes a bit of real estate, of course. And this is the new home in Ponte Lima. This is what you can get in Ponte Lima. This is sort of a wonderful property, I'm sure, that Tony here can introduce you to. Let me find it here. I still don't know if we've got the sound on this, but you're going to see some beautiful visuals now. About 30 seconds of John.
Yeah, turn the mute off. Yeah, take the mute off that video.
Well, it should just play with the sound. Let's see. No, it's still quiet. But it tells you what a lovely peaceful view you have in there in Ponte Lima.
Now picture that same yard with a magnolia tree in the back left, maybe an Azavino holly tree in the back right.
Yeah, beautiful.
Some orange, some limao, some cherry blossoms.
Is this the plan, John? You've talked to your landscape gardener, have you? Or you're becoming a landscape gardener yourself? What's going on?
So that's another, what's cool up north is Fernando Martins and his wife, Simero. So they came over to help consult. And so did the whole planning out of the garden and where the different flowers are going to go, the wisteria and the bougainvillea and the rhododendrons and the like, and to figure out what palms maybe to purchase that don't grow too high.
Yeah.
A place to plant an olive tree that they grow very slow, and of course they take well to pruning. So have a place picked out for that. Maybe some bamboo along the western wall as well. But
he's not going to be retired for much longer then at this rate, is he, Tony?
I have to get my gardening tools. I haven't yet bought a shovel or a rake or a hoe and all of that. So that's one of the chores, but not immediately.
But all is well by the sound of it. You have hit the ground. Well, you've hit the ground gardening rather
Yeah,
than living here.
got the
Antonio, he's our
grass,
man. Sorry,
planting.
yeah, I mean, Antonio is our man in the Minho, singing the praises of the north of Portugal. And here we have John, Antonio, who is living proof of how wonderful it is. This man, he's only been here a few, weeks really, and he's living his best life. This is exactly, he's like a poster boy for what you recommend in Portugal, right?
Absolutely. Checks in the mail, John.
It gets even better. Talking about corruption earlier on, so it's safe to say that you are happy, John, with this choice of Pontelima, as we can see beautifully in the picture behind you.
Yeah, quite happy.
Oh,
Just taking things a step at a time. So don't want to get too overwhelmed with things. That's probably the danger, is to do too much too quick.
yeah.
So I'm trying to be very mindful of, taking days off and not trying to fill every day with doing something. It seems it's very easy to keep busy here, and much more so than where we were back in Colorado. So much easier to make friends and to socialize, and I love that. But the calendar gets very busy very quick. Like I have this morning at 11 o'clock. Fernando's coming over at 11 o'clock, so we're gonna measure out the irrigation system, and then at 2 o'clock we have a language club meeting up north. So today is a pretty full day. Also, we have a new Pingo in town. So after language club, Owen and I and Pam are going to go to the Pingo because it's today's opening day at Pingo.
Living the dream at Pingo. Amazing. Now, what would you say about this, Tony? Because it's very much a first world problem. There's no question about that. But stress is stress. And sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming when you first get here. What's your advice to new arrivals about how to... I will come back to you for your personal view on this, John. But what do you do when you're welcoming people new into the country? As I'm sure you do, Tony, when you've sold them a lovely property and they've settled in the north of Portugal.
Just like John says, go slow. Go slow, because it can be overwhelming. But if you have like John has a community around, living in a community, if you're living in a city as well, you can have people that in the building, etc. But having the community there, trying to learn a little bit of the language, even if you're not. See, Portuguese people, you got to remember something. We're very warm and welcoming, and we can either love you or hate you, and we could do both at the same time, like anybody else. And so, but people are very warm and welcoming, so they want to help you. They know, you know what I mean? Like, so they'll even bring you some eggs or some bread or something, housewarming gift or anything. And especially like I remember just even one of the last couple says, Tony, I can't believe my neighbors they left me this on the doorstep. They left me this. And I said, I don't know who it is. I says, don't worry, you'll find out. The people will go there but at the same time, just go slow, because you remember, you're in a small little neighborhood. Get to know people. Sometimes people love to talk and talk and talk, and so just go slow, as John says, really. And because you're around so many great people, and I think before you do that, you have looked extensively where you want to live. And I had clients, and that's here's a suggestion. What I had clients before they bought the home, they spent a day in the home, and I had the property owner says, get out, go. They want to walk around, get to know the neighbors in the house, come in and out, like spend a day first, like a test drive, you know what I mean? To get to know who the neighbors are and everything.
Great idea.
Yeah. Before buying and settling down, get to know your neighbors, get to know your community. The house may have all your ticks and tick all your boxes and be the perfect fit for you. But what about what's around? And we know, but don't take my word for it or anybody else's. Spend a day there. Go in the morning, afternoon, lunch, dinner. Get to know the people, knock on the doors, ask questions, and I think that'll eliminate, because some of the issues are that I didn't know I had a loud barking dog. You know what I mean? That dog wasn't there when I saw the house. Well, you should have gone there a few times. I mean, and visited it.
Go on, John. Did you do that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, for us, an important thing was to visit our local grocery store. And that was a very good decision, because, we got to meet our neighbors through that. The grocery store started taking some of our mail. So you're making that personal connection, and
in a good way, John.
Yeah,
they started taking your mail in a good way. They didn't.
Yeah, I mean, they could have been maybe more just business-like or whatever, but because they were so warm and welcoming, that gave me an authentic impression of the nature of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And my next door neighbor is the owner's son.
Brilliant. Yes. So you're properly embedded, aren't you? Another question for Tony then. What is it about Portuguese people in supermarkets? Pingo Doce is already a madhouse, packed almost beyond the limits of the parking lot. When the new Mercadona opened up in Caldas de Rainha, the same thing happened. What? I mean, Portuguese people have got loads of supermarkets. You said it's a small country and it's a big country. It's a very small country in terms of population and population density. But as soon as a supermarket opens, it's like half the Portuguese turn up to see what it's like. Why is that, Tony?
It's new.
I think they give coffee away. I don't know.
Okay,
They must be giving something away. I don't. It really is. And Pingo Doce. It's been a long time. We actually hear the first ones. I think the biggest one to open up in Ponta de Lima was Continente, of course. Continente, and then Intermarchés, and then all the brands that go along with it, Lidl's, and that's just another one that's missing there. So it's another puzzle. It's another piece to the puzzle. I don't know why, but it is that
but
people
good for
just
infrastructure. Good for infrastructure if you're thinking of the north of Portugal.
Jobs, Carl. Jobs.
And jobs as well. Very good. Yep, superb. Okay. And
speaking of the grocery stores, though, even though there are the big markets, it's surprising to me how many little small mom and pop stores there are. It's like every little neighborhood has one, and they seem to be doing decent business. So
hope so.
It's strange how you have both the big grocery stores and such a plethora of small ones.
Well, the mom and pop stores go and buy the stuff from Lidl, don't they? And then sell it in the neighborhood maybe as well. So they might get a few bargains at Pingo Doce as well. And we asked about the Livraria Lelo. I don't know if that's an internet picture or Owen's own picture. And you sent some as well, John. It was crazy when you went there, right? It looks like the opening of a supermarket.
Yeah. This was a typical day in June.
And that is Livraria Lelo, is it? That's Harry Potter.
That's the line to get in.
Wow. Okay. €5, not putting anybody off there, and you can recoup that against the price of a book there. Okay, I'm going to hang out a bit more with John. Tony, you probably got viewings and all sorts to do this morning. You can ask him for dinner, but don't ask him to work. Final thoughts from you, because you've been amazing this morning talking about the revolution in Portugal. I feel a bit naughty doing that, and who knows? Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow, and I won't be locked up for inspiring and sparking a revolution here in Portugal as we head towards the 100th anniversary of 1974. What are your final words there then, Tony?
Final words, just don't come if you don't want to fall in love.
Simple as. So notwithstanding these challenges that you so brilliantly analysed and dealt with this morning, don't come here if you don't want to fall in love. And the other thing you say, which I think is wonderful, is you won't be able to change Portugal, but Portugal may well change you, right? Have I got that right?
That's correct. You're not going to change Portugal. But if you're lucky enough and you open yourself up to it, Portugal may change you. And that's what John was talking about. The people, the warmth of the people. Leave your crap at home. Don't bring it here. We already have our own.
Crap at home as well. Fantastic.
And stuff and all the issues and stuff. You don't need that.
We don't need that. Bring your luggage, not your baggage. Thank you, Tony. See you again next month. If not in
Bye, guys. Bye, John.